This is madness. Oh.
And yet here we are.
And yet here we are.
Talk about this beautiful piece of TV.
Okay, shall we?
Yes. I am Rachel.
And I'm Meg. And this is Ger Can Get It. This week, sexy cyborgs.
If they gave awards for makeouts on screen or stage, this guy would get a lifetime achievement. He'll find any excuse to get right to second face. You honestly wouldn't believe it. Dissecting each and every kiss with tongue. There's only one conclusion to come to. It's that Ger can get it. Ger can get it.
Oh my God. If I have to watch him defeat one more Russian spy, I'm going to join the KGB because clearly they're onto something.
I didn't like intend for all of his 80s greatest hits to be the ones that we watched like together in a row.
I'm gonna die.
Thematically, these are all kind of running together for me.
There's so many Russians. Like, I know it was in the zeitgeist at this time period, but I had no idea. I feel like it's probably, if you watch TV from like 2000 to 2010, every bad guy is from the Middle East.
Yeah, that's kind of exactly what this feels like.
Yeah.
Like you wouldn't, like while you were watching it, like you wouldn't have been thinking, oh, this is weird that every program on like every channel, all of TV has like a Middle Eastern guy threatening to blow something up. But if you were like mainlining TV from the 2000s now, you'd be like, what the hell is going on?
Oh my God. What is wrong with you people? Yeah, that's what it feels like. We did Airwolf where he was killing Russian spies like by the dozen every week. And I just feel like everything in the last couple of things we've watched has been his like, I hate Russians greatest hits.
I mean, you're not wrong, but like you said, it was the zeitgeist. We never start at the beginning. We always start like in the middle.
That's because I immediately derail you. It is my function on this podcast.
I do appreciate that.
You're welcome. Wait, Meg, I have something to say.
What?
You're looking very DDG tonight.
No. Why? Why are you trying to kill me? That there's no context for that. In the movie, in the first like 20 minutes, some rando guy who is played by the real life son of Lee Majors. I think he's like Lee Majors the second or third or whatever.
Yeah.
He talks about Jamie Summers, one of the main characters, and calls her DDG, which is drop dead gorgeous.
Yeah.
I would argue that like we need to go back to using 3-letter acronyms in real life. Like I miss those early days of like leet speak, like BRB, LOL. Like I miss the obnoxiousness of it, and I love adding a late 80s addendum to that with DDG because it's so fucking dumb because he has to explain it. He's talking to two other guys. And both of them look at him like, the fuck did you say? And he's like, drop dead gorgeous. Like, obviously.
I worked briefly for this like door-to-door office supply sales company.
That sounds like a scam.
Well, pretty much. But we had to do like a morning huddle, basically like a stand-up meeting. And so they had like their own acronyms for everything because it was all very like, we're in this together and we're really going to go out there and sell whatever. But instead of saying down for whatever, they'd go DF dub. And it's like the one thing I wish that had caught on beyond like the weird circle of drinking the Kool-Aid salespeople that were in this company. Because I just want to be like, yeah, I'm DF dub.
DF dub sounds like a sex acronym. Do you know what I mean?
I just feel like, I don't know. DF dub would be cool. Here I am, the only one who knows it.
The dub is what's killing me a little bit. I'm going to be honest. Like,
because it's W. DF dubs.
I'm aware of the complicated path that they took linguistically to get from W to dub. I get it. Oh, speaking of being DDG, before we start, I think some thanks are in order because our number one pod fan, Allie, sent us like fan gifts. I think we're like legit internet celebrities now. We've gotten gifts from fans and they are beautiful. She sent these necklaces with there's a if you're a fan of Forever Knight, you've seen this picture. It's a picture of Ger and Nigel, and they've got their contacts in and their fangs. And they're like, it's a promo picture for probably season 1, I'm guessing.
Season 3, I think.
Was it?
I think so.
A season. A season.
Maybe
I have
2.
no idea. I'm talking about
Maybe
my... Really? Did you just name all 3 seasons? So it's a picture of Ger and Nigel. They're standing next to each other with their arms around each other. And it's very much Ger as Ger and Nigel as Nigel, and not either of them like in character, because they have the goofiest fucking grins.
Like shit-eating grins on their face.
Shit-eating grins.
Yeah.
Like they just heard the funniest joke.
It's my favorite. Like it's my favorite promo photo.
It's pretty great.
It's the best.
And so it's in the necklace. So you and I have identical necklaces, and they're like giant cameo style necklaces with this goofy picture of Ger and Nigel in it. And I love it so much. I love it so goddamn much.
It's already on a nice chain, but I kind of want to put it on a rosary.
Oh.
And make it like the icon on the rosary.
No, that's advanced goth. I'm impressed.
I'm like, and then wrap it, like how they wrap them around their hands and like you hold that. Yeah, that's what I want.
I was raised Catholic, and I'm a goth at heart. I know exactly what you're talking about. Thank you, Allie.
Yes, big thanks, absolutely.
All other fans, you need to step up. We are famous internet celebrities, and we demand your love, attention, and gifts. So only Allie is really rising to the level that we require of our fans. So please
step up your game.
Step up your game. Yeah, please learn from Allie. But okay, so. The movie that we're talking about, because we still have not said the name of the movie.
That's because I'm in denial that I had to spend an hour and a half watching this.
I bought it. I paid cash money for this. You're welcome. So it was a TV movie, which it was very clear while watching it, called Bionic Showdown, The $6 Million Man and the Bionic Woman, and it's from 1989.
Yeah.
And I feel like once you have a colon in your title, like you've lost. Like there's nothing. Once you have a subtitle, there will be no quality that happens after
or the
after
best
that opening
quality.
Credit.
There's no in between. You're either the worst thing that's ever been on television, or you're like the best.
Have you seen anything good that had a 2-part title? Like ever?
Yeah, the Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring, Lord of the Rings, The Two Tower. Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King. Those are all colons.
I mean, I have thoughts about that like 9-hour journey of movies, but whatever.
I loved them.
I do like Orlando Bloom with the long hair.
Not always the best, as in like, oh my god, that was high quality, but the best in like, well, that was the most fucked up shit I just watched. Or, sometimes they're just.
I mean, that's fair. I will say in the limited world of the GCGI realm, I have not been super impressed with
That's
colons.
True. Yeah, no, colons have not worked out well for
They've
us
been
so
the mark
far.
of death. So in this, Ger plays a character called Allan Devlin. And the first time that we see him, he's wearing a tuxedo. And like, I don't understand. Maybe Rachel, you have more experience with tuxedos on men than I do. But like, I don't understand what's happening with his collar. Because everyone else is wearing a tuxedo with like a bow tie, like you do with a tuxedo, and like their collar folds over just like it would on a regular men's shirt. But on his, it's like a little baby fold. It's like a little bit. It's a little bit like Nehru collar, a little bit like vampire collar. Like I don't understand what's happening, but it made me want to be like, did they not even like? I know the budget was low, but was it can't afford a dress shirt low? Like I don't.
Maybe it was to make him look hip, young, and different.
Maybe is that how the hip young men wore their tuxedos in 1989?
I don't know. I know one man who's worn a tuxedo in my presence. And the only time he wore it, it was the tuxedo that he got for his senior prom that he bought at Goodwill for $25. So it could have been from 1989. I don't know. But it had a regular collar.
Yeah, like every other person who's ever worn a tuxedo ever. I'm sorry, who did you go to a senior prom with some guy?
Matt went stag to his senior prom, so he didn't know he was going till the same day, so he just went to Goodwill and bought a tuxedo.
I respect that. Does he still own the tuxedo?
No, not anymore, but he did. We went to like a dance. We went to a dance and he wore it.
What if there's a tuxedo emergency, Rachel?
He was like, "This is my $25 tuxedo." And I was like, "That's a great tuxedo."
Aw, I'm very sad I missed Matt's tuxedo moment. So Add that to my Christmas shopping list. Okay.
He can just wear his burgundy suit if he ever needs to dress up.
It's a very nice 3-piece suit. So I like the idea that Matt will one day listen to this and there'll be like a 10-second digression into suits Matt looks nice in. This is going to be quality for the podcast. So Ger shows up. He's wearing a very nice tuxedo, but he's wearing a bow tie, which was the sign to you and I that he was going to be evil. Because what is the number one characteristic? If he's wearing a tie, he's a bad guy.
Yeah.
Although he did look really good. Like, he looked really nice in the tuxedo. And I feel like if I didn't know the secret characteristic, the secret sign to all of us diehard true believers that a tie meant evil, I wouldn't have known, because he plays it pretty straight. He plays it like as a good guy. But okay, so he shows up, he's wearing a tuxedo. We like it, but we know he's bad, and it ruins the whole movie for us. But essentially, the plot of this movie is not that complicated, but it is remarkably dumb. So I'm going to do the best I can.
What little there is of it.
What little there is,
yeah, is not great. And yet somehow Sandra Bullock is in it.
It was her first movie, according to Wikipedia. And this was meant to be a backdoor pilot, so if it had done well, she was going to be the star of her own series, and I could see that.
That's what it feels like. Yeah.
There, in the 80s, there were two separate TV shows. First, it was The $6 Million Man, and then there's The Bionic Woman. As best as I can tell from this made-for-TV movie, which is like the third sequel movie to those two series, they're essentially people who were injured, and the government puts them back together with like robot parts, so they look like regular human people.
Yeah, we can rebuild him. We can.
Yeah, we have the technology. Yeah, that's where that famous quote comes from.
Yeah. 1973 is when the
was it that old? I mean, I guess that makes sense, because by the time this movie happens, he looks like he's in his 50s. So him running, we'll get to the running in a second, because oh my God, the special effects of this movie, chef's kiss. They are so stupid. I want to like get a sound clip of the running sound effect that they use in this movie and play it anytime I run or walk anywhere, because it's just it made my life. It's so cheesy. But okay, so they are
Bionic Woman's 1976. In case you want to know.
Okay, so it really has been a long time by the time we get to 1989.
This is like 15 years after it came out.
Which makes sense, because like the two of the main characters, Steve Austin and Jamie Summers, who were the stars of Bionic Woman and $6 Million Man, they look like they're in their 50s at this point. So it makes sense that like their TV series was like not a long time ago, but like longer in the past, because for them to be running around doing their stunts and stuff, I'm like, you guys, you look a little tired. You don't have to do this. It's okay. So, so there were those two series. Bionic Woman was a spin-off of $6 Million Man. And then after those series ended, they apparently did a series of, I think, 4 made-for-TV movies. This one was like the third. I know it's the second to the last. So if I'm right that there are 4, this is the third. It stars Sandra Bullock in her first movie, and I thought she did she does a good job. I thought, like, she's not my like favorite actress ever, but she does. I thought she was compelling and believable in not a great movie. Good for her. And I can see why they would have chosen her to be like the lead of a potential spin-off series, because she's got charisma and her character is sort of interesting. But so this one doesn't get picked up. So then a couple years later, they make the final spin-off movie, and guess who plays the bad guy in that one? Oh my God, friend of the pod, Jordy Johnson.
Aw. And that's 1994, like a full 5 years after this.
I like that they just kept trying. They just kept, because I think that one was also, I think they were maybe all meant to be backdoor pilots, if I'm going to be honest. So I like that they were just like, no, this is the one that gets us the third robot superhero movie.
And 94 is a long way out. It's like 20 years later.
From the 70s, yeah.
Yeah, and the $6 Million Man had been off since 1978. So it's like a long way since anybody watched it.
It's one of those properties where it just seems like it was very beloved. Like, I kind of would like to watch some of like the original 2 series now after having seen this, because it just like it stuck around in the zeitgeist. Like the 2 original shows came on before either you or I were born, but we're both aware of that series, and like we're aware of the catchphrase. And I've seen references to this series in lots of other shows, like live action, and the Venture Brothers have mentioned it, and like just like lots of other things like have pulled from the $6 Million Man and Bionic
Oh yeah,
Woman.
this is deep. This is deep in the culture. Because I mentioned I was going to watch this to my mom, and she goes, "Oh, I never missed an episode."
I think it was pretty beloved. And I know that the Bionic Woman property was rebooted, or they tried to, in like 2007-ish. So like it's never gone away. But it is kind of funny that they just kept trying with backdoor pilots 20 years after the first two shows were off the air. But the actors who played Steve Austin and Jamie Summers, like, they still looked really great. Like, they were like, she's beautiful and he's handsome, and he's Lee Majors and she is Lindsay Wagner. Apparently at least Lindsay Wagner is still around, because when I mentioned to my mom that I was watching this, she was like, "Oh, Lindsay Wagner is still beautiful today." And I was like, "How do you know that?" She's like, "I just know." I was like, "All right."
It's just a thing that we all know.
I would love to be such a renowned beauty that people who haven't seen me in 20 years are like, no, still beautiful today. I know it. I just know. She just is. That is a level of beauty to aspire to. So this is the backdoor sequel pilot that never actually goes anywhere. So we've got the $6 Million Man and the Bionic Woman. They were people who were injured, and then they're put back together with robot parts by the government. And they are basically supposed to work for the government agency that put them together, is kind of what I'm gathering from this. And that agency is the Office of Scientific Intelligence, the OSI. Which, can I just say, I love that, like, every third show about a shadowy government agency, they're always called OSI, but OSI stands for something different every single one. But they're like, no, those are that's a good acronym. We're gonna stick with that, but it'll be a different thing. So they used to work for OSI, but, like, as I said, they're in their 50s now. They've now retired, sort of, kind of, not really. And their government handler character, sort of the equivalent of Locke on Airwolf, is a guy named Oscar Goldman, and he's like their ex-boss / their friend. And then we have a new character who is Oscar Goldman's weird as hell nephew, Jimmy Goldman, who is as far as I can tell, a professional stand-up comedian, and he's got like sweet 1989 cool funny guy mullet hair, which chef's kiss. I love it. It's halfway between Baby Ger mullet and the Vachon mullet from Forever Night. Like it's exactly in between, like the Baby Bear version, like just right.
It's Vachon if he used conditioner.
Yeah, Vachon if he didn't smell like marijuana and like also regular cigarettes, which is kind of what I imagine. I imagine that Vachon like found an empty bottle of Axe on the street and used it to bathe in, and like doesn't understand why rats run from him everywhere he goes and why dinner is so hard for him to find. So he is a professional stand-up comedian who is also a professional athlete, like a runner, like a professional like long distance runner. And he is going to compete in the knockoff version of the Olympics, which in this is called the Unity Games. So the idea is that we're going to have the Unity Games, and it's going to be like the Junior Olympics. And where else would we hold them, Rachel, but in the Cops Coliseum in Hamilton, Ontario? Do you know why I know what that place was? Because I as a child performed there for Prince Charles. My little choir, and like every choir for like every school child in all of Ontario had to file into this Coliseum, which looked exactly the same in 1990 whatever as it did in 1989, and we all had to sing into this giant void while Prince Charles sat very bored in the center, like 30 rows down. So I was like, I've been there. I also have performed there. Ger and I have something in common now. Oh my God. I saw it and I just died. I was like, wait a minute. And I had like a full body flashback. I was like, oh shit. They did not make it look worse. That is how it looks. So that's where they're holding the Unity Games. I like that they didn't even try and put like a fake sign out front, like Toronto Stadium. They're like, nah, it's the fucking Cops Coliseum. It is what it is.
They didn't even hire actual athletes.
No, they did not.
They were
had
like
models. They had really beautiful models wearing what I assume is regular athletic gear, but from 1989, where like you would run, but in kind of a full body thong, like what Borat used to wear, which was a choice. But yeah, I love how they do, like, they are beautiful women because it's like a race, and we have Sandra Bullock having to pretend to be a runner, which we'll talk about in a minute. But yeah, they're all very beautiful. They're all models and actresses. Not a single fucking one of them looks like a marathon runner. Like, marathon runners look like marathon runners. They're like muscly and they're lean and they're like, their legs are thick. And these women all look like they're about to be bikini models. I think they're even wearing makeup. Who fucking wears makeup? Like, while you're running?
And they're all white. They're all white.
Also that. Well, it was a movie made in 1989.
You want to talk about the Unity games? They're like, you mean the right kind of Unity, right?
Oh, yeah, we're going to address the several questions I have about the Unity games. You know, let's do it right now. Okay, so the Unity games, when you can hear the announcer in the background, they will mention other countries. Like they mention Japan at one point, and I feel like they mentioned Germany at one point. I think there is one Asian runner, but only when they mention Japan. Like an Asian woman like walks on the screen like, "Hey, what up? I'm here." But
they're like, "Get the fuck up!" I'm sorry.
But yeah, almost everyone on screen definitely appears to be white. The runners appear to be white, and then for the countries, it's supposed to be the Unity games, like countries all around the world. It appears to be just the US and the USSR, but the whole thing is taking place in Hamilton, Ontario. Like, so then at one point, the premier of the Soviet Union comes into the stadium, and the announcer is like, "Here's the premier. He's decided to show up and grace us with his presence." The entire crowd stands up and cheers, and I was like, "Is that exactly, like, I know we're the Unity games, like, I know, but is that exactly the reception that a mostly perhaps US crowd would give to the premiere of the USSR in 1999?
At the Unity games, Meg, yes, because this is all about bringing our two countries together.
Only the white people, I guess.
God, keep up.
Yeah, the premiere of the USSR. And I was like,
we
really
fucking love Russia.
They're like, it's like if someone was like, "And here's Bono." They're like, "Ah," like they're so fucking excited. And I was like,
"I saw you on Airwolf."
I was like, okay, that's a choice. Yeah, it is. There were a lot of choices made in this movie that I don't fully understand, but yeah, we're gonna get there. So we've got Jamie Summers and Steve Austin. They're the retired cyborg spies or whatever, and then we've got the Sandra Bullock character, and her name is Kate Mason, and she is friends with Jimmy Goldman, the nephew of Oscar Goldman, and it sounds like they've been friends at least since like middle school. They've known each other a long time. He's had a crush on her, she's had a crush on him, but they never did anything because his mullet got in the way, I guess. So she has some kind of a degenerative disease where from the age of 6 she's been in a wheelchair, because we can't watch anything where anyone's in a wheelchair where they have always been in a wheelchair and will always be in a wheelchair. They have to have not been at some point and or not be in the future. They have to be faking using the wheelchair. They have to be cured. Everyone has to be pissed off about the wheelchair. Like, have you noticed this theme in all the shit that we've been watching where they're really crappy about disability, like really violently awful? So, oh my God. So she has a degenerative disease. She's been in a wheelchair since the age of 6. And we end up watching some home videos with her where she's like, all she's missing is a snifter of scotch to be like swilling in her hand dramatically. She's sitting in the fucking dark watching home videos of herself playing with the family dog, and her dad is cooking on the barbecue outside. And she tries to wheel down the ramp from the front of her house, and her wheelchair gets stuck, and she goes face forward into the fucking snow. And everyone's like, "Ha ha!" And I was like, "Oh no!" I was like, "This is the worst thing I've ever seen." Because it's like a very, I don't even know how to. It's sort of like in a cartoon. It's like if you took a board and went plop, but that's her body. It just goes plop right face down into the snow, and she's not.
And
moving.
The dog starts licking her face, and she's like, "Ah ha 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 ha," and then she gets like helped back into the wheelchair, and that's when the one lady comes in. She's like, "That was an act of courage." She was like, "Let's just get back in the fucking wheelchair."
Yeah.
She's like, "No, letting someone help you was an act of courage."
They lay it on real thick. They lay it on real thick about how courageous she is in the wheelchair, and then immediately they give her robot legs. Can we just linger on that for a second?
Like immediately. We don't explain shit. not how she got there, not how they picked her, not how they inserted the bionic computer in her brain.
Yeah.
And where that lives, or they don't take her headband off to turn the bionic
The headband
thing
is
on.
a key part of the procedure, Rachel. The very cool puffy lavender headband. It's where all the robotic, they're screwed into her head.
She is dressed like a child this entire movie. I could not get over her costume.
Well, okay, so that's a good point because I want to look up how old Sandra Bullock actually was in 1989. 25. So she's 25 in this. It plays like she's supposed to be, like her character's supposed to be 16.
Like 16.
Yeah, like maybe 18
17,
to be legal
maybe.
to make decisions on your own, like maybe, barely. Same thing with the boy who's meant to be her friend with Jimmy Goldman, because his uncle says, 5 years ago, Jimmy's parents died. He was made an orphan, and I decided to step up and take care of him. And I was like, sir, this man is 30. He's 30. At 25, he was still a legal adult.
He does kind of seem like the kid that was still living at home at 25 and was like, I'm an orphan now. Who's going to take care of me? It's the vibe.
I mean, possibly. Look, some of us, our lives didn't work out the way we thought they would.
No, I mean I'm still a child and I need someone to take care. Who's going to cook my meals? Who's going to buy my groceries? I don't know how to be alone.
They both characters feel very childlike, but also they are played by grown adults. So it's very it's very visually confusing. It's sort of like 90210 where they're playing teens, but they're like in their 20s. But I feel like you can sort of buy these 20-year-olds as teenagers, but like Sandra Bullock and the guy who plays Jimmy, who is Jeff Yeager, they both look like they have mortgages. Like they both look like very adults. So when Sandra Bullock falls face forward out of her wheelchair and a child helps her up, like it's a little upsetting to watch. So anyways, you're entirely right. They don't explain. So she seems very childlike. The OSI has recruited her and they're like giving her the same deal that they gave to Jamie Summers and Steve Austin. They're like, we will fix you. We have the technology, but then you belong to us. Like enough of you by weight will be parts that we own. So you're ours. But they make a distinction that her bionic technology, I guess, is more advanced and more modern than what Steve Austin and Jamie Summers have, because what she has, it can be like remote controlled, which I thought was kind of interesting, only in that it presages the discussion that we've been having with like smart cars and like cars with like computer parts and computer brains and like Wi-Fi enabled cars, where there's been the concern that people could hack into it. Because like if you have like a car that's all just dumb robot parts, like how am I going to hack into it? I'd have to hack into it manually. Like I'd have to break into your car. But if you have a car with like a smart brain and it's Wi-Fi enabled, then if I could hack into it on a regular, like a desktop computer, then I could hack into it in your car and I could like lock all the windows and drive you into a ditch if I wanted to. So like, I thought that was interesting that we're having the same technology, the same discussion about technology that we're having now with like Teslas and like modern advanced vehicles that we did in 1989 with Lady Robot. Anyways, I thought that was sort of interesting.
I thought that was going to be bigger because they're like, oh, it's remote controlled. Can't somebody just take her over from afar then? And I was like, oh, that's going to be how this plays out. Nope, not.
I am confused by that. So she has like the smart, like the 2.0 version of the Bionics. And yeah, that is an argument that's made that someone could take that over remotely from the outside. And Ger, as the evil character, he at one point holds up a little device which looks sort of like a plug, like just like a separate plug without the cord. He holds it up and he's like, "This is the thing that will allow me to take over Kate's body." It's confusing because it sounds like he means several different things. Like maybe he means I get control of the robotics and Kate's brain is still in there and she just can't control her arms and legs. But then he makes some comments where it sort of sounds like I'll hit this button and Kate as a person will disappear and like be dead and I will just be like controlling her robot body, which is empty of a soul.
Horrifying.
It is horrifying. But then when they actually show him, there's a little button on this thing that looks like a separate plug. And when he hits the button, lasers shoot out of it, and you can see where the laser hits her on her body. I think at one point it hits like her knee and her side. He points it at her like a remote control. It zaps her, and where it zaps her, it looks like it just physically hurts her. And then he's about to zap sort of at the nape of her neck, or like, I don't know, like where your head touches your neck, like that, like where the bump kind of goes in. It looks like he's going to like zap her there.
Yeah.
And Jimmy ends up stopping it. And it's never clear to me, like, if he zaps her there, is that what gives me control over her whole body? Is that what kills her brain? Or is that just going to put her in so much pain that she passes out? And then I can rip out her robot parts later. Like, it's not really clear to me what they're going to do. But like, at the beginning, they described the possible harm in a way that was clear and understandable and interesting, which is just that I can hijack you from the outside. I can move your arms and legs and I can make you into my bionic soldier. Like, that was clear and easy to understand, and it would have been easy to film. You just hold the little clicker and you point at her, and all of a sudden she's like, I can't control my arms and legs. Great. That would have been easy. But instead they were like, no, what if we say 3 totally different things, and then we say 2 different things and we do a third like secret thing?
Secret thing that's totally not related and is way dumber.
But I mean, still, the sentence that they used that misled us as to the plot, that sentence presaged this interesting conversation we're having now with smart cars. So I was like, well, that's something, I guess. The movie's not good, but it does tell the future. Yeah, only, like robot ladies instead of cars.
One brief shining moment. Yeah, and then it's like, what if being bionic had nothing to do with the plot, and you could have had nobody be bionic, and then we could still have had the same movie?
Yeah, this movie about robot people, it turns out, has very little to do with robot people.
Correct.
We've got Kate. As you said, there is no indication about how the government found her or why really they chose her, except like, you're a good person with morals, I guess.
Yeah. You're my nephew's like side piece, I guess.
Yeah. And you're in a wheelchair and we don't want that. So like, let's give you robot
parts. You look desperate.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's weird because she has separate lines of dialogue where it sort of seems like, I've been this way since I was 6. Like I'm used to it. Like I figured it out. It's my life. And also, I hate it. I've hated every minute. Like whatever part of my soul I have to sell to get working legs again. Like I will do it. Send me into a war zone. There's so this movie is so inconsistent. And I know asking for consistency from Bionic Showdown : the $6 million man and the Bionic Woman. I know that's a lot. That's asking too much, but it's confusing and weird. But anyways, so it's never explained how they pick her or why she says yes or what her family thinks about all of this, but but they're just like, all right, we picked you, get into the fucking dentist chair. And they zip zap her and they make a bunch of nonsense science about how they've put computer chips basically in all the spaces between her bones, and they've put stuff in her brain. And it sounds like there's like a little separate robot computer that's been embedded into her skull somewhere. And then the doctor like flips a giant Frankenstein switch and all of a sudden it works and she gets out of her chair and she can walk. And I thought, I will say to her credit, Sandra Bullock does a good job at playing, I am a woman who has not walked since the age of 6, and now my legs work and I have to shakily get out of my chair and kind of baby walk over to somebody. I thought she did it was believable that it was brand new baby legs. I mean, I don't love it as a movie. It kind of bums me out that like I said, that every time we have someone in a wheelchair in the 1980s, we have to have them like super depressed and trying to fix their legs. I don't know. It seems kind of shitty to people who are actually in wheelchairs to be like, no, bionics. Anyways, but she gets out of the chair. She walks over to the scientist. She gives him a hug and says she loves him, which we're going to gloss right over. And then Ger is there, and God bless him. He is characteristicking all over this fucking movie. Just chef's kiss. They are together. Like he's hugging her, he's kissing her, he's giving her like little shoulder squeezes. I love it.
Yeah, he's right in there. He's like, and here we go. I've got like 10 minutes of screen time. I got to make the most.
It did feel like every time he was on screen, he was like, I'm going to touch whatever part of the body I can. Sandra Bullock's going to be a big deal one day. And I'm going to say I squeezed that shoulder 16 times.
Weird how many people who would go on to be in very big movies that he has been with. Because like Mila Kunis.
He's a star maker.
Sandra Bullock, the lady from The Matrix.
Oh, Carrie-Anne Moss.
Carrie-Anne Moss. Hayden Christensen. Mm-hmm. He's run afoul of a lot of like, oh, you're going to go on to be big.
He's like Tinkerbell. He's got that magic. That magic touch.
He does, yeah.
Rub some fairy dust on you. Oh. I'm not crying. Okay, so we get her. She's got her legs going on. And by this point in the movie, there has been a break-in. We've had the reason that we had Ger in the beginning in a tux was because there was a fancy black tie dinner, a fancy black tie gala for the Unity Games, and we've had some people break into some other office at the Pentagon, like while they're all there having their black tie dinner, and they've stolen some papers, and we never learn what the papers are except that they're secret and important. And the only reason it really matters is that the break-in brought more attention to the Unity Games. Now the world press cares about the Unity Games because there was a tangentially related break-in. Sure, okay. And one of the guys who's involved in the break-in is bionic. Dun, dun, dun. And so then we're all like, who could that be? Because apparently we know all the people in the world who are bionic. There's not that many.
Yeah, there's only 4 of them. God, Meg.
Yeah, one of whom is Steve Austin's son who lives in Florida, apparently. So they're like, well, it probably wasn't him.
Yeah.
So then we've got Steve, we've got Jamie, we've got Katie, who only became bionic 32 seconds ago. So probably it wasn't her throwing people against the wall. And they're like,
I don't know, maybe.
I love how they throw out, they're like, well, we don't know. And I'm like, you just saw her. You saw the guy turn the chip on in her brain. Like you thought.
You do know, though.
Yeah, you were there.
Know. I just love how they create these superhuman robot people. And then they're like, oh, I don't know. He lives in Florida. What does he do in Florida?
Don't worry about it.
Are there Russians in Florida? Are there Russian gators? Like, what is he doing in Florida?
No, he got a free pass. Everyone else is enslaved to the government till the day they die, and then the government will rip the robot parts out of your bones. But no, Michael gets to live in Florida. He's cool. He's fine.
It's just like, I don't know, because then they make Kate and they're like, okay, go have a great life, Kate. Because they just let her loose.
Yeah, but they let her loose, and then it's sort of like, it feels like she was always going to be a government asset, but just not as quickly. And like now they needed her quicker than they thought they were gonna, and that's why I don't know. That was my impression, but I
don't know.
I don't know. This movie,
Sure.
in terms of like what is actually going on in any given moment, this movie gives 0.0 shits is what's going on.
-1.
Yeah, -1, yeah.
Yes.
This movie wants you to give a shit, but it itself will give no shits. So she ends up being able to walk, and we're like, oh no, there's a bionic spy. Like, what are we gonna do? So we also realized that the person that stole the papers couldn't just be some rando bionic person, which, first off, it sounds like only the scientists at OSI can make bionic people. So I don't know how it could have been a rando person anyways, but it definitely couldn't be a rando person because they knew where all the key cards, like what drawer the key cards live in. Because I guess you don't take your secret key card home with you. You just stick it under your fucking mouse pad. So this guy...
Yeah, you check it in and out.
Yeah, it sits in a box that just says, secret key cards, do not open. So the robot person who came in knew where all these secret hiding places were and like knew the codes for things. And so they're like, okay, so it was a bionic person and definitely it was someone who works for OSI. So there must be a secret bionic person who works for OSI. And I'm like, fucking how? Like when we saw Kate get the surgery, it turns out that she's had several surgeries in the past to ready her for this final surgery. And also there's like 17 doctors and nurses and medical professionals and I don't know, IT guys who all have to boot her brain up. Like, how could you possibly keep that a secret? But the movie doesn't care, so neither do we. So we're like, okay, secret robot spy, and they're trying to undermine the Unity Games, like, uh-oh. So we end up having Kate go undercover at the Unity Games as a runner, which, as we said already, like none of these runners look like any runners at all. But so she's there, and the idea is that like as she's circling the track, she'll use her bionic eyes and stuff to see what's going on, see who's trying to sabotage the games. And Jamie and Steve are there, and Steve is the head of security because even though he retired, no, he didn't. And so they're, I mean, that's how they play it. Oscar just asked him nicely, I guess. So they are going to be looking around the stadium with their bionic powers to see if they can see anything from like the outside part, like the walkways and stuff, like outside the arena. And then Kate is in the arena, and they're all going to be looking together to see what's going on. And while this is going on, the second worst use of wheelchairs in this movie happens because Jimmy Goldman, so the nephew of Oscar, he is on Steve Austin's boat because for whatever reason, Steve Austin's like, you're my little bitch now. You have to clean my boat. They don't explain this in the movie. He's just like, ha ha, you think you're funny? Clean my boat, bitch. And because Steve Austin is a dangerous robot man, I guess, Jimmy's like, okay, I guess I'll clean your boat. So he goes to clean. It's random because the Steve Austin character feels very much like a Bob Newhart, like a sweet, kindly, older gentleman, until this one line where he's like, ha ha, I'm not your bitch, you're my bitch, clean my boat. And I was just like, what happened to Bob Newhart? Like, he was so nice.
And it's out of nowhere. He's like, they always told me to speak my heart, even if it was made of Teflon. And the kid cracks a joke and he's like, my boat better be fucking glowing in the dark when I get there tomorrow. And he's like, yes, sir. And he's like, okay.
And then the rest of the movie, he goes back to like gentle Bob Newhart with like little aphorisms, and he wants Jamie Summers to marry him, but he's like too nervous to ask her. And I'm like, sir, you're 55. Like,
yeah,
get on that. Get on that time. The clock is ticking. But he's like gentle and whatever. And then he's like, bitch, clean it. So Jimmy goes out there to clean the boat with his tongue, I imagine. And then because Steve is the head of security for the Unity games, and the bad guys they want to sabotage the Unity games, the boat blows up. And if Jimmy had been standing in the front of the boat, I think is what they said. If he'd been standing in a different part of the boat, essentially, he would have died or lost use of his legs or whatever. But he was standing in just the right part. Yeah. He was in the good part, where he just got some bruises and he's fine.
Well, he was an athlete, Meg.
Yeah.
So he's gonna be fine. If we repeated that one more time, I was gonna scream. They're like, "You're gonna be fine. You're an athlete." And he's like, but I know. But he's like, you're not. Isn't he a professional like comedian or like? He's not an athlete.
You know how the people that compete in the Olympic Games generally, like, they're not like for basketball or whatever. They're not generally playing professional basketball. They have like a regular job and they need to raise money so that they can afford to go to the Olympics. It kind of feels like that.
Yeah.
But somehow his job that feeds him is stand-up comedian, and I'm like, sir, you're not funny enough to make me think that you can afford to feed yourself on that. Like.
Yeah. They're like, of course you survived. Like, the bomb blew up and the boat blew up, but you're going to be okay. You're an athlete.
Yeah. You're not a fat, lazy schlub. They would have died.
Yeah. Oh,
you're an athlete.
Your legs are burned off at the hip, but it's fine. You're an athlete. You can come back from this. And you're like, what? Even Kate says it. She goes, it's okay. You're an athlete. The fuck is wrong with these people? Yeah, I like
how they go and see. So Jimmy is on the boat when it blows up. He is fine. We don't know that. So we see him in the hospital, which first he's in the regular hospital and then he's in the secret OSI hospital for reasons. And when he's there, the doctor who we first see and Steve Austin and Kate, they all go back and forth between like, you're going to be fine. And like, because you're tough and strong, like you can handle this, and you're going to be fine because we don't know the extent of the damage, and probably it wasn't very much. And I bet that you'll be able to walk like at first with a cane, and I don't know, maybe bionics. They're giving him so much false hope, where if this character were actually disabled, it would be really kind of cruel, because the real life stuff, like the walking with a cane or whatever, you have no idea. Like, he was in a boat explosion. I don't even know if he has legs at this point, but you're like feeding him all this false hope. And then when they're like bionics, they cut to Oscar asking his new boss, who is General McAllister, because there's like some government oversight switch around. They like don't trust Oscar anymore because they're like, he doesn't follow the book, blah blah fucking blah, doesn't matter. But the new boss of OSI is General McAllister. So Oscar goes to him and is like, hey, I need you to give my nephew bionic legs. Like, I've served my country for 30 years. I need you to spend $6 million on my rando stand-up comic nephew to give him working legs again. I'm sure he'll be a good spy. And the guy is like, we don't have money. Like, we're already in the red from giving robot legs and arms and brain to Kate. Like, we don't have the money. There's no money. And Oscar's like, this is fucking bullshit. And he has a big like blow up in a meeting that McAllister is in with other people. Like, he walks in and goes out, and everyone else has to leave, and he has a big pissing match with McAllister. He loses, and he's like, all right, I guess I resign. And he might as well just like throw a rock at him. He's like, he like pouts. So he leaves. And it's like, they're making it sound like, oh, McAllister's such a dick. And I'm like, you're a secret government agency, and that's your rando nephew. Like, it would be it would be malfeasance for the government to just try and find $6 million for him unless somehow he was also qualified to be a spy, which, spoiler alert, he ain't. He is not. So anyways, so Oscar has a big blow up and he's like, I'll quit. He goes back to his office. He starts like loading up stuff in boxes. They send in security guards after him. And Oscar's like, all right, fine. I guess I don't need my shit. And he whips the box at a security guard and basically does like double birds out the door. And I'm like, this whole movie up to this point, you've been like cool, calm, collected elder statesman of the government, like diplomat who's been through war, and now you're 17-year-old bitch. And I was like, what the fuck is going on here? This is so weird. I love how every character in this movie is two characters. Like they're normal until they have one scene where they're insanely out of character and then back to normal again.
It's so performative, all of it. They're all like, oh no, he's lost it. He's really fighting back against this thing that he's given 50 years of his life and every moment of his family, and that he lost his wife to, and he's willing to give it up because we won't give his nephew a bionic injection or some shit. Yeah, it's fine. That's exactly what's happening. It's definitely not because we need to figure out who the mole is, and that way they will go and talk to him.
Yeah, but it's like you said, like taking one step backwards, it feels like, oh, this is an obvious ploy to draw the spy out of hiding. But while I was watching it, a lot of the acting in this movie is so not attuned to the scene that like when people start going crazy and yelling, or when people seem super blasé, like because their reactions are so like not at all how I would expect a human person to react to any of the things happening. When Oscar starts going crazy, I was like, okay, I guess he just goes crazy now. Like I was like, okay, all right, I'm here for it. But yeah, so the whole thing is a ruse to bring the spy out of hiding, because I guess the thought is if Oscar's like, fuck you guys, I quit, then the enemies of the OSI will be like, oh, we should go and get him. He'll defect to us. And then he has like valuable spy information and like valuable knowledge he's gained from being a spy, like skills and knowledge. And so we'll get him. So that's Oscar's thought. But what it requires is that Jimmy is in a fucking wheelchair for most of the movie, and that all the bionic people think that he is in fact disabled now, and they're trying to give him like pep talks and shit. And then at the end of the movie, when Kate is in danger and he pops out of the wheelchair to save her, she ends up apologizing to him for being mad that he lied to her about being disabled. And I was like, oh, there's too many layers to that onion. I cannot unpack all of them. And then they make out, because like that's the kind of movie this is. Ger doesn't get to make out in this movie, but like the Ger influence of bizarre makeout scenes, it is tangible. It is very tangible. So anyways, we end up having Kate go undercover at the Unity Games, and Jimmy, who was a star athlete, I don't know if I told that to you, Rachel, he is a star athlete.
Yeah, no, he's an athlete, I can tell. On account of how he grew his legs back.
After being on a boat that blew up.
The boat blows the fuck up, and he's like, I mean, I was hurt a little bit, but I am an athlete, so.
He was on the not flammable. He was on the not exploding part.
Yeah.
So he was on the black box part. So he's like, well, I should go and help Kate. I'll be her coach, because I trained for these games. I'm a professional runner, and Kate is a girl I knew in high school who can't use her legs. So, like, I will tell her all the things she needs to know to pretend to be a professional athlete. And then apparently what she's doing in the meantime is she is trying to get information about all the other runners there to see if any of them could be somehow involved in this grand conspiracy. We never get to see any of that shit. We get to see her do 2 very slow laps around the cops Coliseum. And then she's like, boop,
yes.
boop, boop. Oh, I hear a bomb. Like, and that's the extent of her spycraft. But I was like, okay, well, that could have actually been interesting to see her like trying to pretend to be a runner and trying to learn how to be a spy. No, we don't get any of that shit.
No.
So it turns out that Uncle Oscar, his plan of making everyone think that he is dissatisfied with his job worked too well, because Ger comes. So Oscar goes and gets drunk at the Watergate Hotel. He goes back to Jamie's house. Jamie and Steve and Kate are all there, like nursing him back to sobriety, I guess. Ger comes in, flies up to the second window, because what is a Ger movie if he does not fly, I ask you? He flies up to the second window. Well, I guess they're bionics. They just jump really well. He jumps really well to the second window. He breaks in. He picks up Oscar like a sack of potatoes. He beats the shit out of all the bionic people. Never explained how he's like the best bionic guy.
The most bionic of all of them.
Yeah, somehow. Yeah, which I am so frustrated by, like, the black hole that is his character, but whatever. So he picks up Oscar like a sack of potatoes, throws him over his shoulder, kicks the shit out of all the bionic people, and basically waltzes out the front door. And he goes from Washington, D.C. with this comatose man, and where does he go? Toronto, Ontario. And I'm like, fucking like, really? Are you so bionic that you just ran from Washington to Toronto with this comatose old man on your shoulders? Like, never explained. We don't need to know about it. But when Oscar wakes up, we see this Russian official that we'd seen earlier in the movie. His name is Zarinsky. And then we see the head of the CIA, the head of all of it, Mr. CIA. And they are there working together because they're like, oh, we don't want unity. We want perpetual war forever because then we will continue to have jobs. And also, both of us, we have a little side business. It's kind of fun. We sell guns and tanks and shit to both sides and to rebels and to anyone who wants them. And we make a tidy little profit on top of that. Hey, Oscar, do you want in? And I'm like, okay, so what part of I'm kind of pissed about my job led you to believe he would not only defect to the USSR, but also be like a third party illegal gun runner? Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
How does this make any sense for his character?
You seem mildly disgruntled. Would you like to completely defect and arm the other side?
Do you feel like committing a war crime?
Yeah. And he's like, I mean, I'm just a little mad. Not like big mad.
So we have the Russian guy, we have the American guy, and they're like, do you want to commit a war crime? And Oscar is like, maybe. I don't know, maybe, like playing coy about it. And then they're like, okay, well, you have to prove yourself to us. And I'm like, you kidnapped him. Like, what? This is so weird. Like, are you trying to, I don't know. So they end up making him record a speech where he tells somebody, it's basically a speech that's broadcast on like secret government radio, that the Russian premier who's going to show up at the Unity Games, that he is the target of some terrorists. And so the Russian premier should be moved from his box, which is definitely full of explosives, to this other box over here, which is definitely A-okay and not full of explosives. And while he's giving the speech, he's got like his little handheld microphone in his hand, and he's going tap, 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 tap. And apparently that's Morse code. Yeah. And I'm like, I know that's not Morse code, sir. But he's like fake Morse coding the GPS coordinates of where he is.
Well, they don't even say it's GPS code. They say it's like an sub-audible transmit. It's like they call it something different. They don't say it's Morse code. I don't know. It's Morse code, but whatever.
He's telling them the address of where he is. It seems pretty loud. It seems like you're very loudly tap, tap, motherfucking tapping away while you're giving the speech. Like, and you're the head of OSI. Like, nobody thinks that you're like maybe tapping at a code, that you're not just like idly twitching your fingers, but whatever. They don't pay attention. It doesn't matter. He taps the code out. So Jamie and Steve figure out that he is being held somewhere. So they go and they jump through the window, they break in, they beat the shit out of the Russian and the American, and they find out from Oscar that Allan Devlin is not just working for the Russian and the American, which is what I first thought when I first saw this movie, like he's their bionic guy, like he works for them. No, they make comments that he is in charge. He's the boss. And I was like, what? What? Like, who? You're just, so, what? Like, you're like some rando, like 31-year-old for the OSI. And you on your own were like, you know what I don't like? World peace. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to coordinate with Russian and American gun runners, some of whom are deeply embedded in the American government. And, we're just going to do a little thing. We're just going to ruin the Unity Games. I bet that would be fun. Like, what? Anyways, it doesn't matter, but he's apparently the guy. So they realize that he's the actual spy. And then we end up having basically a showdown between him and Kate at the Unity Center. So Kate sees him putting up some detonators and whatever, and they chase each other around the whole stadium. They She electrocutes him at one point, and it doesn't do shit. So then they get up to the roof, and they're fighting with each other. And Jimmy is there, and Jimmy's like making a little distraction so that Kate is able to pull out a little piece of like a metal baking sheet, basically, that Ger is standing on, as you have on the roof of your building.
Standing directly the fuck on, like directly
right
on,
in the center.
like 2 feet on top of a baking sheet that's on this roof for no good fucking reason.
It's a thing that happens.
It's
for energy efficiency. So he's standing on top of the world's largest baking sheet, and Kate pulls it, and he's like, whoa! And he flies off the roof, and he lands on his back on the ground several stories below, and he dies dramatically and sexily wearing a suit. I love it. The end. Good job. So is this movie dumb? Yes, it is. The only fun thing about it is that Ger's character, he's in it for like 12 seconds. He's the big bad. All of the action happens in the last like 8 minutes of this movie. Nothing happens, and then all of a sudden it's oh my God, Ger's planting a bomb. Oh my God, we're chasing around the stadium to try and find him. Ger picks up some bricks. He whips them at Sandra Bullock's head. Sandra Bullock flips him over a bunch of times. She electrocutes him. There's like pipes bursting. Like all this action in the last 10 minutes of the movie. The hour and 20 minutes before that, fucking nothing. It's just Steve Austin being like, I sure would like the Bionic Woman to marry me, but there's never a good time to ask her. And I'm like, what is this? What the fuck is this? So Ger's character in the like 3 scenes that we see him in is always hitting on Sandra Bullock. And I was like, yes, in character. So like the first time we see him, and he's super handsome. He's at the dinner. And then we've got him with like all the other scenes are him with Kate basically. And he's like, oh, Oscar wouldn't let me touch you or hold you or hug you, which I sure would like to. And Sandra Bullock's character is interesting, by which I mean confusing, because she like wants Jimmy. She wants to date Jimmy. She ends up dating Jimmy. Jimmy likes her. Like, I don't know what the holdup is with that. But like every time Ger's character is on the scene, she's like, I don't know, maybe. I mean, hey.
I mean, he's here and he's hot. And I don't feel any real compelling reason not to. And then she calls him nice.
This is my favorite scene. Please discuss.
He's like, oh, nice. He's like, you might as well call me, or you're a good friend, I think. You're a good friend. And he's like, oh, good friend, you might as well call me nice. And you're like, wow, there's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah, but you're missing, you got to say the best part though.
You say it.
Okay, let me, I wrote it down. Let me find it.
Oh, good. You wrote it down because that's as much as I remembered the DDG and the Teflon heart, and I lost this part. I mean, I remembered most of this part, but.
So Kate and Allan are sitting on a little bench, and Kate's like, I've been undercover for a week, and I've been trying to talk to all of the other athletes, and I haven't learned anything that I think is going to be particularly helpful for me at all. Like, I haven't learned anything, any like spy shit. And Ger's like, oh yeah, when I first started, I had to stake out the men's room at the Denver airport. And I was like, okay, a lot of follow-up questions on that. But he's like, when you start, like they always give you crap gigs, and it, it takes a while to learn information. And like, he's trying to like cheer her up a little. And she says to him, thank you for being a friend. And Ger's like, ugh, that's the kiss of death. And she's like, what are you talking? Like, what do you mean? Like, I called you a friend. Like, that's great. She's like, what would you rather I said? And he goes, I would rather you said that I was blonde, handsome, slightly mysterious, and romantic.
Yes.
And I was like, well, you wrote that line yourself, sir. That was not in the movie.
Oh, he did. Yeah, he just threw that in there, and they were like, well.
That was Sandra Bullock being like, you've been a really great friend to me. Thank you for teaching me how to act. And Ger's like, call me blonde, handsome, and mysterious. I love it.
Now I remember. Yes.
It's funny in terms of like characteristics and like, the through line between his performances. It's weird for this character because this character is supposed to be like secret double agent spy, and his plan is to either kill Kate or use her robot body, or maybe like both kill Kate and use her robot body, like to steal her. So he's like pretending to like fall in love with her, sort of very, very, very slowly. And also just like the way that he's doing that is it's not like pretending to have a relationship with her or like want a relationship with her. Cause I could see that, right? Like, let's go on a date. And then he throws you in a van and he takes the van to his government his secret spy warehouse, and he rips out your robot parts or whatever. But they don't take it down the like, I would like to date you and spend time with you road. They just take it to the like, God, I'd like to make out with you in this public park road. And I'm like, well, how does that help your spy plan of like ruining the Unity games and furthering the illegal gun trade? Like, I like it as a characteristic. It's weird for this character because it's like he's super into her, and then he's like getting the boyfriend jealous, the Jimmy character jealous, and like I don't understand why Sandra Bullock, because he's like I don't understand what she wants in any scene, because it's like I thought you wanted Jimmy, but then Ger sat down next to you and you're like upgrade, which understandable, but like then when Jimmy gets on the scene, she's like, God, get out of my personal life, and then 2 scenes later she's like, I love you, Jimmy, and I'm like, what? Who do you love? Like what? And then like well after that is when she finds that the Ger is the spy, and I'm like, okay, like nothing makes any kind of sense in this movie, but I do like that your job was to be emotionless, hot, secret spy robot out for his own bidding, and you were like, what if, hear me out, I added sexy to that, and I added like, what's the male version of a Matahari? I add like sexual seductor to this. I like seduce the robot lady for my own evil ends. And the script is like, the script has nothing to do with it, but he's like, what if I'm going to add a little Susan, I'm going to add a little Ger magic to it. I'm going to add a little secret sexy to this bizarre cyborg drama. And at the end of the day, you never find out how he got made a robot. You never find out how he got robot parts. He's like, oh, wouldn't you like to know? And I'm like, yes, I would. I would like to know.
Yeah. No, they don't care. You don't get that shit. No.
And it's another characteristic, I feel like. It's sort of like, I feel like we've had that in a couple of his properties where there are pertinent questions for the plot. And one character is like, let me ask this pertinent question. And another character is like, does it matter? It doesn't matter. And then we just move on to the next scene. And I'm like, that's not a way that you, like, what screenwriting class tells you that that's fine? That there's like actual shit that the audience needs to know, and you just have characters go like what? I'm sorry, what?
Yeah,
that's not a technique. You don't just get to yada yada like important shit.
Yeah, you do.
But apparently,
you do. If you can put a colon in your title, you don't have to explain shit. Nothing.
This movie is like the bodily colon of movies. Do you know what I mean? Like it is full of shit. So I don't know. I mean, because it's like,
it's all right. It's just a low budget made for TV 1990s movie.
Which is really insensitive on the issue of disability and really confusing in terms of who does Sandra Bullock want to make out with? And also, is she 14 or is she 27? Because she can't be both, right? It's like you have to pick one. It's just, and then also, like, why can't this old man propose to his old lady girlfriend? Like, I want them to be happy.
He does at the end.
Yeah, no, she does. He's like stuttering. He's going full on Bob Newhart. And finally, Jamie Summers is like, you want to get shit? You want to get married? You want to shack up? And he's like, oh, I do want that.
How did you know?
I will say that I do like that the very last frame of the movie is Jimmy like being like, well, I guess we're boyfriend, girlfriend now, and it would be fun to have a bionic girlfriend, to Kate. And how does he do that? He kisses her fucking hand. And I'm like, Ger taught you that. I know he taught you that. There's a patented Ger move. How dare you? Okay, so in terms of characteristics, I didn't see any eyebrow raises. Although this whole movie made me do an eyebrow raise, so I feel like it gets a spiritual eyebrow raise.
He's not on screen enough.
No, but I feel like we've had other things where he is the big bad and he's only in it for like 20 seconds. I know that's kind of how 24 will go. I feel like we've had something else where he had very little screen time, but he was like the impetus for everything. Do you remember? Didn't we have something like this? I feel like it all blurs together for me.
The last several have all blurred together because they are all just Russian bullshit.
They're all the same. So I don't have any eyebrow raises. I have a hand kiss, but not by him. I do have him describing himself as blonde and handsome, which I feel like it's a half point towards the characteristic of other people describing him as blonde and handsome.
I feel like Ger not having a lot of screen time, but being the entire reason the plot exists might be a characteristic.
I think it is.
Because we've got Deadly Harvest, which he's barely in, but he manages to have the highest body count in the movie.
You're not wrong.
The 2 Littlest Hobo episodes, same, including the body count. And then the Outer Limits episodes that he's in, And then there's Slings and Arrows where he doesn't show up until the last 5 minutes, but the whole episode's about him.
Yeah.
And then there's Diamonds, which he's actually in Diamonds a fair amount, but that's Russians.
But yeah, I feel like Ger showing up at the end of either a show, like a series, or like a particular episode, but being the impetus for everything. Sort of like in Frankie Drake.
Yeah.
He shows up, he's at the end of the entire series, but he's like the dad criminal that has like shaped Frankie's whole life and is the reason she is why she is and why she's a private detective and stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, Ger not having a lot of screen time, but being the impetus for the entire thing, like being like the cause of all the good and evil that happens on screen. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the alpha and the omega, it turns out, in all of these shows. So, okay. So him being the cause of everything, someone calling him pretty, in this case, it's him calling himself pretty. Yeah, which counts.
Which counts. A
hand kiss, which I know it's not him. I know it's not him, but a hand kiss in a Ger property, I'm going to say that's a characteristic. Him wearing a tie and it being a mark of evil. Yep. Him wanting to make out with people. Oh, he does spider hands a whole bunch. So spider hands and the fact that he cannot kiss a woman, I think, is probably partly why he wants to blow up the Unity games.
Yes, and just everyone being smitten with him, despite how long, because even if they've been in his presence for 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Like, of course you're beautiful, and no one ever even suspects that it's him.
But to be fair, they never show us or tell us anything until that would make you suspect it was him until the scene when he walks into the house with the Russian and the CIA guy, and he's like, I am the evil mastermind behind all of this. And I'm just like, oh, okay, sir, whatever.
But I mean, they suspect Kate, who's been bionic for 30 seconds.
Yeah.
But they're not like, it could literally be anybody else. They're just like, well, we've run out of options. And here's this random guy who's been in nothing else ever. He just showed up on their doorstep one day. It was like, I work here. And they were like,
okay, I believe you.
You're hot. Yeah, you probably work here.
Yeah, it is funny that they're like, the robot spy definitely has to work for OSI. Could it be this woman who does not work for OSI and became a robot 2 seconds ago and we all watched it happen? Maybe. I was like, what? What? You literally have the facts that tell you that it could be anybody else. It could be the janitor at OSI, but her. She is the one person that definitely it's not. Jamie and Steve could be secretly evil, but it's definitely not Kate, because she could not possibly be, because you saw with your own eyes when her robot parts got turned on.
But we will dismiss the guy who lives in Florida just off the cuff.
It would be too far for him to travel. He's not going to travel to blow up the Unity games.
Well, it can't be him. He lives in Florida. Oh, he doesn't like to drive that far.
That's crazy. It definitely couldn't be him.
And didn't we discuss making a characteristic out of somebody just yada yada's part, like an essential part of the plot? Like, how did you become bionic? Wouldn't you like to know?
I would. It matters. It matters to the plot very much. Is there like some secret master above you that I should know about? Because they have established that only the OSI can make you bionic. Only the OSI can give you the robot parts and robot brain or whatever.
Right.
So there has to be some other traitor, right? There has to be.
It's like when Divya comes back. It's Divya all over again.
Yeah, but God damn it.
How did she not die? I don't know.
Yeah, she just didn't.
Oh, okay.
Well, it's funny because like I skimmed the Wikipedia entry about the next movie just because, like I said, I saw Jordy Johnson was in it, and it looks like it's mainly about the Steve and Jamie characters trying to get married, and then Jordy Johnson plays some kind of a terrorist or whatever. It doesn't look like it's any kind of internal terrorism thing, like anything that would follow up on like, yes, who made Ger the way that he was? It was some other disgruntled scientist for the OSI. Nope. Fucking nope. Nobody cares.
Nope. And the last 10 minutes of this movie are just whoosh, 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 whoosh.
Oh yeah, we didn't talk about the funniest fucking part, like the only reason to watch this. So I feel like today, if you turned on a TV show where someone was supposed to be going very, very fast.
Yes.
I feel like they do it two ways. I feel like you either have that person walking normally and everyone around them is going very, very slowly. And that's how you know that our guy is going super fast, because his normal is so much faster that everyone else looks slow. So like they
So
either do
much-
it that way, or they make him look like he's going really fast. Like they have him like a blur, like through everybody else, and everyone else is going normal speed, and he's just like this like Quicksilver, like zip zap zap, like like through the middle of a crowd, and like papers fly around them and whatever. Like you show a fast thing. Bionic Woman was like, no, we're going to take neither of those tracks. We're going to take a third worst track. What we're going to do is we're going to show poor Sandra Bullock. Poor Ger. We're going to show Ger and Sandra Bullock speed walking. So doing that thing where you like start like chicken winging your arms a little bit to get yourself up to the speed walking speed. So just imagine every old person you've seen do a mall walk. But aggressively, like an aggressive mall walk.
Yeah.
So they're doing the aggressive mall walk, and then behind them, there's like a little blurry whoosh, but it never looks like they're going fast. It looks like they're mall walking, and there's just like a weird aurora borealis that's centered right behind their butts. Like it's the fucking dumbest thing I've ever seen.
Right. With like boo 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 and like a weird, it's not Queen, but maybe it is Queen. That's like, why you running? Do, 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 do. Why you running? Do, 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 do. And then she's running and it's supposed to be real dramatic and like, oh my God, she's running faster than the Bionic Woman because she's an upgraded version of the Bionic Woman. And it's just like,
and then they play the theme song a little bit behind them when they're doing like the extra speed run. So it's like, ba, 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 ba,
yeah.
ba. I'm like, no, I don't. Okay, I don't need the 80s theme song and like the hair metal band music. Like I don't need all of these things together. And then because their other power, so their power is they have like computer chips in their brains and their eyes. So when they look around, they can access the internet. Basically, it looks like, because they'll look around and they'll see a guy and they can check within like an internal database and be like, oh yeah, that's the Russian foreign minister for whatever, like Sergei whatever Manov. And so they can do that. They can zoom and enhance. But mainly what they do is they run real fast by speed walking, and then they can jump. Oh, God bless them. They don't even look like they're launching off the ground. Yeah. It makes that noise. It makes like the Zoidberg noise. And then they look like someone came up. Well, first off, I think they're probably like jumping from high backwards, like down low, but it sort of looks like someone took a harness and just like slowly inched them off the ground and then maybe sped up the footage. Like it is just, God bless Sandra Bullock, because she sells it. She's like, oh no, I see Ger is evil and he's putting detonators all over the building. I have to grab this shot put and jump 3 stories in the air. And she's like, ba, 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 ba. And she takes her shot put, and it's just like, you know what it looks like? This is a very niche reference, but like, I don't know how else to describe it. It looks like there's an episode of The Simpsons where they make fun of TV shows adding in new like garbage characters to try and refresh the show. And the character is this dog named Poochie, and Homer Simpson ends up voicing it like in the world of the show. And when the show doesn't do well, when the cartoon doesn't do well and they want to get rid of Poochie, what they do is they have a cell, like an animation cell with one single frame of Poochie on it. And you can see that someone has physically come in with their hand and they're waggling the cell and like inching it like higher and higher up the frame. So it just looks like the still image of Poochie is like slowly rising from the bottom of the frame to the top. And they add in some voiceover that says, I am going back to my home planet. And that's how they get rid of Poochie. That animation is exactly what they do to make the people in Bionic Woman jump up and down. Like one still image kind of like just like wiggling with like a string. It is so fucking pathetic. It is so sad. And like poor Ger has to do all these fights in a full suit for whatever fucking reason, because he's not just evil. He's fighting, he's beating people up while wearing a suit evil, which as we know is the most evil.
He's incognito. God, Meg. And then during the Unity games, this is my favorite use of the bionic power. She like looks at a guy who looks vaguely Russian, and it's like boop 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 boop, and it gives her like his name, what his affiliation with Russia is. He's just sitting in the crowd. He's probably like an immigrant. He fled here with his family or something totally unrelated. And it's like, yes, he's Russian and he's 37 and he looks like he's about 55. And I was like, is that what you thought 37 looked like in 1989? And then she looks over at Ger and it does the same thing. Like it's about to give you all of the information. and it gives you nothing. Because I was like, oh, how old are they going to say Ger is? And it doesn't show any of his information. And that's when she's like, oh shit. She like looks to the right and it like zooms in. And then she's like, a bomb. Because she just zooms in on the bomb. And then she looks over and it like zooms in on his hand. And he has a stupid remote control in his hand. So she hits him with a shot put. And he's like,
I will say, Ger falling over with that fake shot put might have been the best thing in the entire movie. Because she whips it at him like 1 inch above his pelvis, and he crumples. He crumples so believably, so hard. I really enjoyed him getting almost hit in the nuts and going blah.
He makes like a sound. It's like you hit me with a fucking. I believed it. I believed that man had just been hit. He sold it. Yeah, I just he phoned in some of this. I'm not gonna lie. Normally, I'm real generous because I think he does a really good job most of the time. But he phoned this in. He was like, "Yeah, I'm bionic. Whatever. I don't give a shit. Do I get sandwiches and money? Yes, you can. Can I touch Sandra Bullock? Yes, you can. That's fine.
You are not allowed to touch Miss Bullock, actually."
Which they mentioned because he like puts his hand on her and she's like, "That's against the rules."
That's my favorite part. Is that there are several scenes where they're like, "I'm not supposed to touch you," and I was like, that seems like a weird thing to tell an agent about another agent. Do you know what I mean? Like, you don't, I mean, even now, like, I feel like we don't need the HR seminar because we all know you're not supposed to touch the new agent. And because the new agent is somewhere between 16 and 25, you should doubly know not to touch the new agent. And Ger feels the need to mention, his character feels the need to mention several times, "I'm not supposed to touch you." And I'm like, oh, okay. Did that read as not menacing in 1989? Because today I'm like, sir, why did they have to tell you specifically multiple times?
Yeah, that reads as, "I have a file and like I'm on my last strike."
That's why he went evil. He's like, the Russians will let me touch whoever I want to touch. Thank God, Mother Russia. Oh my God. I feel like we've had multiple things where they start off with the Russians are evil, and then they backflip it into no, there's some third party who just wants to profit from all war. Isn't war bad for everyone? Which, fine, I guess. Fine. I didn't hate this. It wasn't like Ikwe where I was having a hard time emotionally. It wasn't like Deadly Harvest where I was somehow both bored and deeply depressed. Like this was cute. This was fine. The characters don't seem like people. They seem like amalgamations of things, and the special effects are remarkably dated. Although like I said, I do want to speed walk everywhere now and have that music playing behind me, like on a microphone.
Yeah. Why are you running?
I'm gonna put that. I'm gonna get it on loop in my headset, and then just go for a run in the neighborhood and feel like the new Bionic Woman. But like doing the extra slow motion, like chicken wing arm thing, and just pretending that this is how normal people run. It did make me miss 80s tracksuits and how they were all kind of like. Not plasticky. What's the word? Like crunchy? Like, like when you're
yes.
Yeah.
Like
I don't know a better way to describe that. But whatever fabric they were made out of was definitely flammable.
Nylon.
Yes, nylon. Thank you.
Yeah.
I miss lavender nylon tracksuits with like weird shapes that were just kind of pasted on them for no reason, and like giant earmuffs and poofy headbands. Like I miss the fashion of that moment. I mean, we've seen things that dress Ger worse, frankly. I mean, they get him, like the suit that they put him in is like a very nice suit. The tuxedo is nice.
I thought he looked good in this.
Yeah. I mean, he's meant to be like the hot spy. So like whoever was doing costumes and hair and makeup, like they got that memo. Thank you. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But like, is this good? No. I mean, like I said, it does sort of make me want to watch a couple episodes of like the original series because those were beloved and this is very much not. So like I want to see what led to this. And here's my like my main bone to pick, and you're gonna roll your eyes because like I've said this to you 17 times and you're gonna be like, shut up about the subtitles. Here's my problem. Okay. I can't hear so good. I don't hear very well. I'm doing the best I can. I'm old. I'm 36. That's like 100 in dog years. I don't hear that well. So I bought this movie on DVD from Amazon for like $4, whatever. I got it. It does not have subtitles. It does not have like any accessibility features. So I Googled, because a lot of the times you can find like a separate subtitle track, like they're called SRT files. And I was like, I'll get that. And there's a way to combine that with your video. And I'm like, bing, bang, boom, I'll be able to listen to it. Great. There are 2 subtitle tracks online and both of them are wrong. The words are right.
Yeah.
But like, they're not, the timing is wrong. And it's not even like they're all wrong together. So I could shift the whole thing by like 6 seconds and make them line up. No, like the spacing between the words inside is what's wrong. So the only way to fix it, I'd have to manually edit every single line of this 1.5 hour long movie. And I was like, I know that I'm like nuts for watching this shit and taking notes on this shit and talking about this shit for an hour a week. I'm not edit the subtitle track nuts. I'm close. I'm really close. I know I am. So what
There are days.
Yeah. But like, this movie, for some reason, I don't know if you found the same thing, because I know you like to watch with subtitles too, but like I found that sometimes it wasn't just that the audio was quiet, it felt like everybody was mumbling. And I'm like, you're giving me all this exposition about like whatever weird robot procedure you're doing, or like the government, the political tensions that are going on behind the scenes. When you mumble, I this is stuff I need to know. Like when you mumble, I can't tell what's happening. So what I had to end up doing was I had to pull up the text file, the subtitle track on my computer, put the movie on the TV, and like read and like
follow
look back
along.
and forth. I had to follow along like a fucking storybook, because there were scenes where I was like, I got nothing out of anybody's dialogue. Like I could always hear Ger. I'm attuned to the Ger performance, I guess. But like, and Sandra Bullock, I thought always did a good job. But everybody else was like fucking mush mouth, and I'm like, come on, guys.
It's a bad sound guy.
It's yeah. They put all their effort into the sweet soundtrack music, and they're like, you don't need to hear the dialogue. It doesn't matter. Which, to be fair, it doesn't matter. But like, make this movie accessible so I can hear it.
Oh, subtitles are a problem. Like they're because a lot of them now are auto generated, and I can always tell you when they're auto generated because they're wrong.
Problems,
like they'll just straight up get things wrong, and it's like there are people who rely on this.
Oh yeah,
I use it as a crutch, and I'm aware of that. But like my sister is deaf; she can't sit down and watch a movie with me if there are not subtitles. And then when they don't, and another thing they've stopped doing is putting in. There's 2 different things. There's subtitles, and then there's closed captioning for the hearing impaired. There's 2 different things. And subtitles are just the voices; they're just spoken word. But then closed captions are when you get like maniacal laughter or dramatic music, door slams, phone rings, like the cues that let you know as a non-hearing person that something is happening on the video, that if you could hear the sound, you would know, but you can't see it. And so you don't know it's happening if nobody tells you it's happening. And so a lot of them have just done away with those. So they'll just have subtitles, but not closed caption. I just don't like it. Sometimes they'll give things away. That's the only time I don't like them. They'll be like bad guy speaking in background, and you're like, God damn it.
Yeah, now I know who that is.
Yeah, well, I think sound mixing is an industry-wide problem right now, personally, because so many more people are relying on subtitles to know what's happening. It's probably not us.
Yeah, but these are like it seems like we're having a worse time with the older things.
Right, yeah, but also like when they transcode it into digital, how are they making sure that the audio stays legible?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, for this, it was a $4 movie. They didn't give a shit.
They did not. It's an abandoned property. It's like Forever Night. The DVDs that I got for Forever Night were produced recently, like 2-3 years ago, and they do not have subtitles.
I just don't get it. Like, it just seems like it should be there for everything.
It's like, fucking really? I know they exist. You could have grabbed them, because the Sony release of the DVDs has subtitles. So
it's not like they didn't even have to like make them.
Right. You don't have to make them. They exist, but whatever. But it's a problem. I mean,
When it
It's
feels
an
like
issue.
it feels like they used to have, like, do you remember when DVD sets like first came out, when you could get like a whole season of a TV show and it was like $60, but you got your great big box set and it was like a big deal that you could watch your TV show at home. I feel like when they first started doing that, they would have so many different language tracks. Like I was like, wow,
Oh, they were nice. Like they had
quality.
extras.
Yeah.
They had
Yeah,
like behind the
bonuses and
scenes
interviews
stuff. They were not bare bone. They were like, here's your shit. And I was like, thank you. Yeah, I paid $60 for that and I love it.
Yeah, it was
Thank you.
quality. You had like the sleeve on the outside, like there was like special artwork. Sometimes they'd stick in like a special little card.
Yeah.
And there'd be like, you'd have your subtitle tracks and they'd be in several different languages. And then you'd have like the separate audio tracks. So like if you're doing language learning, even like I have a DVD of The Simpsons from France, and it has like 4 or 5 different like audio language tracks, like not just French and English, but like because it's the European version, they're like, here's the Spanish Simpsons, here's the German Simpsons, here's the whatever. Like they had so many different tracks and the accompanying subtitle tracks, and I was like, this is really helpful for me. This is really helpful to understand what's going on because I can listen, and if I'm not quite getting it, then I've got the subtitles to like follow up with. Like it's great, but not even just in terms of a language tool. Like I need the subtitles in English to help me out to hear what's going on because my brain and my ears don't work together so well. They're not friends. Like I need the assistance. And it just seemed like when DVDs first came out, they really catered and they were like fancy. And now they're like, fuck you. You want a DVD? Here you go. It's still $60.
Yeah, we hate you.
Yeah.
Fuck you and we hate you. That's everything now feels like that. We hate you for buying this.
Pretty much.
Go die.
So, okay, how would you rate this movie, Rachel? We haven't even gotten to ratings yet because I got sidetracked by subtitles. Is that your rating?
I'm thinking.
I think your rating should just be that purr that you just made.
I think I'm gonna go 2 eyebrows out of 5. And I hate to go that low because there was a lot of characteristics, but he just, I wanted him. I mean, he had a couple good, when he was on, it was good. And then when he wasn't, you kind of forgot he was in the movie.
He does disappear for big chunks, which is also a characteristic, I feel like.
Yeah. And then, I mean, I'm giving him like a bonus eyebrow just for getting socked in the stomach with a shot put.
That scene was really good. Actually. I did
Besides
appreciate
the
it.
moment in Airwolf when he fell down and got amnesia. That was probably the most I've actually seen him harmed. Every other time he miraculously gets out of it, or he's like the guy harming other people, but he's very rarely the guy that gets hurt.
I do like, I don't like a lot of his 80s properties, but I do like that that uniting theme of what if we took Ger and kicked the shit out of him for comedy.
Yeah.
So how many sloppy wet kisses would I give it? So because I rate it on enjoyability, which is always like the worst fucking, it's, I don't know, like a 5 sloppy wet kisses out of 10, because I didn't hate it. I didn't love it.
It's higher than Airwolf.
It is higher than Airwolf. Yeah, Airwolf was like 4 because Airwolf was grating to get through. Was my problem. Like Airwolf took something out of me just to get through, and it all blurred together. And like I feel like at least with this, like the plot is not super coherent, but I feel like I have a general idea of what happened. Like Ger and some gun runners don't want world unity, and the way that they're going to disrupt this is by blowing up the Russian premiere at these games. Like that's the plot. I get it. I understand what happened. If you showed me any episode of Airwolf and then said, hey, tell me what you just saw, I'd be like, I don't know. There was a mime and he wanted to fuck her. And you're like, no, the plot. I'd be like, is the plot not the fucking of the mime? I don't know. So this like made some kind of sense. I don't know. Like a 5. I'm just because it's like fine. Like there's like some funny parts and there's some boring parts. There's parts where he's not there. I like Sandra Bullock. I thought the Bionic Woman and the $6 Million Man were cute. They were like a very cute couple. Like I liked them together. They had like, we've been acting together for 20 years. That like rapport, that easy rapport. Even the like the jealous boyfriend of Sandra Bullock was fine. Like he seems charming. And I looked him up on Wikipedia. He's been in a whole bunch of stuff. Like I can see him being a compelling actor to watch. But just like overall, it's so cheesy, and like the Cold War theme is just rammed into the ground by now. And I don't like the way that they treat disability in this movie. Like it's deeply upsetting and weird and wrong. Better than in Cats and Dog, where they throw the guy into his wheelchair and then he decides to murder someone even though he's a police officer. It was like, it's fine. It's like a 5. And like you said, any movie where someone throws a shot put into Ger's maybe nuts, I was like, that's a fine movie. That's a good movie. I wouldn't recommend buying this. I don't know that I would. I don't not recommend buying it. But if you were like, I want to buy the Bionic Showdown, I'd be like, why? Why? What so compels you?
I mean, I feel like if you were a $6 Million Man and Bionic Woman fan, you'd watch it for just like a completionist.
Based on this, I would like to give the original programs a try because it just seemed like sweet and nice. But like in terms of, is this standalone movie good? Like, not really. No. I will say the one thing that we forgot to mention is in the beginning, there are opening credits where they're showing like a bunch of schematics and like not even x-rays, like that thing where you do like a heat map of a body. So they're showing like bodies and they're showing like where all the robot parts fit in. And I think if you pause, like there's writing on the screen that'll say like, this is the thing that we're putting in between these vertebrae on her back, and here's what it does. And this is the thing that we're sticking in the muscles on her arm, and here's what it does, blah, blah, blah. But like the very last image on screen, and I'm sure that you caught this, Rachel, the very last image on screen is a woman's body. And they're showing like, I don't remember what part, but they're showing like here's the bionic parts, whatever. Mm-hmm. And then to start the movie, the camera zooms in to her vagina. And I was like, why?
Well, it's just set the tone.
Fucking yeah. This whole movie takes place inside a robot vagina, and that does not make it any worse.
I mean,
or better.
It's fine. We all live in a simulation anyway.
Inside a robot vagina. I was like, why? Like who? Like somebody, you had to draw this. Do you know what I mean? Like you
somebody had to storyboard that, and they were like, "Fucking fine, it's fine."
That's like when I tried to watch the movie Daughter of Dracula, which, for anyone in the audience, it is not the same movie as Dracula's Daughter. Dracula's Daughter is a great movie from, I want to say, like 1934, 1936. I don't know, from the 30s. It is cool and atmospheric and black and white and beautiful and tender and wonderful, and I love it. Daughter of Dracula is from the 70s, and it Franco-Italian porn, and that movie also starts with a shot that goes into a vagina, but spoiler alert, it is a real human vagina, and I did not know that when I bought this movie as a bootleg at the convention, the Chiller Con in Parsippany. I did not know. I mean, I should have known by like the face the guy made when I bought it. He was like, yeah, here you go, wink. And I was like, oh, cool, a vampire movie. I would just like this to not be a thing that filmmakers want to do. Like, I would like no other filmmakers to be like, you know how I should dramatically start my movie or TV show?
Yeah, in a vag.
Vagina. Yeah, please, no more. No more.
You heard it here first. It's overdone.
It is overdone. It is used too much. 2 times was like 6 times too many. I don't. It's weird. It's one of those things. What's that quote where like, if I had a penny for every time it happened, I'd have 2 pennies. But isn't it weird that it's happened more than once? Like that's
yeah. Is that Schitt's Creek or something? It's like I'd only have 2 pennies, but it's weird that I have 2, that it happened twice or whatever. Yeah.
I think it might be Phineas and Ferb, the children's cartoon, because that's where all my references come from. Not adult programs, cartoons for children. Anyways, yeah, watch it if you want, but like, don't watch it. Probably would be a better show. Maybe don't, unless you're really into the $6 Million Man, in which case, yeah, he seems he seems nice. Yeah. Steve Austin seems nice. Lee Majors seems nice. On that note, friends.
Until next time, friends. Bye.
Bye.